Good afternoon. This is Eric Christensen with the Tropical Analysis and Forecast Branch of the National Hurricane Center with the weekly Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing recorded Sunday, November 24th, valid through Friday, November 29th, 2024. For the highlights, we don't have any gales or tropical cyclones active currently, but we do have large northwest swell in our Atlantic waters. No tropical cyclone activity is expected over the next 7 days. Currently, 12 to 16-foot wave heights are ongoing near Bermuda in the Atlantic due to northwest swell. Along with fresh to strong northwest winds, the swell follows a pair of cold fronts moving across the western Atlantic. Farther south, moderate to fresh trade winds are supporting seas to 8 feet over the tropical Atlantic. Moderate to fresh trade winds are also active across much of the Caribbean Sea, with fresh to strong winds funneling off the coast of Cabo Beata on the southern coast of the Dominican Republic. Gentle to moderate breezes and slight to moderate seas are noted elsewhere, including the Gulf of Mexico. For Monday, high pressure builds across the western Atlantic and eastern Gulf of Mexico following the now merged cold front as it shifts eastward. The area of large swell subsides slightly and shifts eastward as well following the cold front. Moderate to fresh southerly return flow starts off the Texas coast over the western Gulf. Little change in winds and seas elsewhere. For Tuesday, winds and seas increase over the southern Bahamas, associated with a trough developing north of the Windward Passage. The northwest swell in the Atlantic continues to follow the cold front as it shifts farther east. A new cold front moves across the southern plains and enters the northwest Gulf. Little change in winds and seas are expected elsewhere. For Wednesday, the Atlantic front continues to shift eastward, followed by high pressure building near Bermuda. Reinforcing northwest swell behind the front remains mainly east of 55 west and north of 20 north. Low pressure forms over the southern Bahamas, north of the Windward Passage, supporting fresh northeast winds and rough seas off the Bahamas. High pressure over the Gulf of Mexico prevents the front from shifting southward. The front will slide eastward along the northern Gulf through midweek. Farther south, the pattern will support mainly moderate trade winds across the tropical Atlantic and eastern Caribbean. Seas to 8 feet will persist in the Atlantic due to swell. Fresh northeast winds will occur south of eastern Cuba between troughing over the Caribbean and high pressure over Florida. By Thursday, the high pressure dominates the Atlantic waters north of 20 north, supporting a return to fresh trade winds across the tropical Atlantic into the Caribbean. Fresh southerly flow returns to the northwest Gulf of Mexico. Little change in winds and seas are expected elsewhere. By Friday, strong northwest winds and rough seas will follow a cold front entering the northwest Gulf of Mexico. Fresh to strong southwest winds are expected over the northeast coast of Florida ahead of that same front. Fresh to strong winds and moderate to rough seas are possible over the southwest Caribbean, associated with broad low pressure. Combined seas build over the tropical Atlantic due to a long and persistent fetch of trade winds along with northwest swell. Little change in winds and seas are expected elsewhere. This has been the Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing. I am Eric Christensen. The next briefing will be Thursday, November 28th, 2024 at 5 p.m.